I hope you had a chance to look at the film and have any questions. We're happy to take those today. We always see how large the group is that comes each month and then determine whether we go forward with particular, questions that people have or whether I kind of blab for a while. Maybe I'll blab for a few minutes. And just to remind you, in the movie, we're talking about the two different cycles. They're also, I'm starting to talk about them as in more detail as two distinctive pathways. So the cycles are the cycle of competitive detachment, which we're in now, where we forgot how to meet children's basic needs, especially babies and mothers who are expecting, and how to support healthy development in young children who are so immature when they're born, like fetuses of other animals, until about 18 months of age. And so we need an external womb experience, which is needs met immediately to keep the growth state going for all the things that are scheduled to grow. There's sensitive periods that for foundational skills and capacities that if you miss the growth kind of biochemistry for those systems, the timing goes and you've missed it. Now you have a gap in your brain and your capacities that maybe doesn't show up till later when you have anxiety, depression, and such things in adolescence or adulthood even. So um, meeting the basic needs of the young, which is much more extensive than what Abraham Maslow was talking about. He was talking really about outcomes, the feeling of love and esteem and all. Well, what does that mean though? How do you get there? The evolved nest is how you get there. The evolved nest provides for it's a buffering system for whatever genes you have, whatever else, even trauma. We find that mothers who have a higher, we've published on this, a greater evolved nest history are able to buffer the effects of adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, on their vagal nerve functioning, which is the vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve, which innervates all major systems of the body. And so its malfunction is going to give you problems in one system or another. So irritable bowel, asthma, brain seizures, heart problems, if this nerve is not established well in early life. So we find then the evolved nest buffers those negative effects that adversity has on the vagus nerve functioning. So the evolved nest is really key, but when we don't provide it, then that leads to in the cycle dysregulation of all kinds. So vagus nerve stress response kicks in too easily, too often, and you're in a state of inflammation. And then that leads to adults who are not very well physically, mentally, socially. They get into the primitive systems of the brain functioning. Their full potential has not been fostered, cultivated, and so they have to rely on the systems that we're born with that are innate, which are dominance orientations, self-protection orientations, in order to just feel safe, right? And then you have to grab onto something out there to make you feel safe, some ideology, some gun, some kind of thing outside of yourself, because you have this big gap, big hole in your soul. You don't know who you are. You don't feel connected. All along the way, you've been forced into disconnection. And so you don't know how to be present in your body to the earth where you are in this moment. And you don't know how to relate, right? Because you miss some of those little micro skills that develop before language develops in early life. First 6 years are so important for developing our social and emotional intelligence. It's not the time to be pushing reading. That's left brain stuff. That's the deliberative, conscious, ego conscious mind that the Western world has loved for so many centuries and has put us in the pickles we're in, where we forgot how to relate and we forgot how to be present to our earth partners, the trees and the animals and plants. So the cycle of competitive attachment undermines early development, leads to dysregulations of all sorts to adults who aren't very well, wise, connected. And then they keep the cycle going because they don't know any better, right? They don't know that there's another way to be because the cultural stories are, oh, that's just the way humans are. You're selfish and aggressive and you can't, unpredictable. And well, you created that, right? Because you forgot the wellness informed pathway. You forgot the cycle of cooperative companionship, which is the cycle of our ancestors, all our ancestors. Just most everybody until a few hundred years ago followed that path. Now it's been degraded since civilization for the last 5,000, 10,000 years, little by little, the evolved nest has deteriorated from force, from coercion, from hierarchy, pushing people into things that are not unfolding from inside. So we're scheduled as, I mean, we're like all animals. We unfold our beauty, our virtue, our wonder, our uniqueness unfolds when we have the support system of the evolved nest, whatever animal you are. And when we don't have that, then we don't in civilization, we force children to do this or that. And we think we have an idea of what's best for them. And we don't pay attention to their inner beauty and how, or understand how it unfolds from support systems, not from teaching adults, teaching them how to do things. They observe and learn by doing. And so the cycle of cooperative companionship then is providing all the supports, all the 9 components we've identified. There's more we could put on the list, but those are the ones we've looked at in our lab. And those things then provide that buffer, that embrace of love, a biology of love, so that the unfolding, the normal way of growing your neurobiological systems and your social capacities and your intelligences of all kinds then grow naturally. Evolution doesn't make mistakes. It's culture that makes mistakes. And we've made so many mistakes to forget these things. We need the wise elders who know these things to guide the new parents. New parents aren't very good at being parents, typically, especially in our era, because they haven't seen how to raise a child well, how to nurture them without force, for example. So when you provide the evolved nest, you're going to have a well-functioning neurobiology and social emotional intelligence, and those features, those capacities then grow into an adulthood of well-being, of good health and happiness and joyful relations and flexibility and attunement to others. And then those adults create the culture of society or community that keeps the cycle going. So those are the 2 pieces in the movie that I've just gone through quickly. And they really, well, maybe I'll stop and see if there are questions or comments, or you want more information. And you can raise your hand and then I'll call on you, or you can write in the chat, I think, as well. See if I can get the chat. So Lisa's starting to put things in the chat.
There's a link to the study you're referring to, Darsha, with ACEs in the evolved nest. That's in there.
Yes, and who spoke?
I have a question.
Yes. Malin?
Hi. Yes. Hi, Malin. I'm out walking, getting at the nature component. Yeah, I'm so grateful for your work. It resonates so much with me, and I feel it's very timely too. Seeing so much polarization and the wars going on, and yeah, the importance that we find find that attachment in ourselves, even if we didn't get it, and see the world, yeah, like you're saying, that it's not that people are bad or evil, or yeah, we're just traumatized, yeah, and especially from the parenting and the lack of village. So yeah, I really hope, yeah, I like to be part of spreading this understanding more. But I may be curious about if you see an example, can we, or to what extent can we re-village and re-parent ourselves, or even if we are in a dysfunctional system. But yeah, do you have examples, or how do you do it in your life, or how, or people around you? Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. And yeah, thank you so much again.
Thank you, Malin. Good to have you. Where are you from? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm from Sweden, but I live in Nelson, Sinaiksland. It's in British Columbia, Canada.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good questions, of course. The big puzzle is how to get back to our heritages that foster well-being for humans and for the planet. And that's massive changes have to be done, of course, overall. I always suggest that you start with yourself, right? To be present to the moment where you are, and to let go of your fear and let love flow in, and let the divine energies of the universe come in, and then you spread that through your being, just where you are. We can all do that. It may take a little more time if you've been traumatized to let go of the trauma. We kind of build up all sorts of protections when we've been traumatized in different ways. And so sometimes taking off those Band-Aids or barriers is painful. But once you've done that, you feel much more alive and much happier to be in the moment. So I always encourage starting with yourself. Now, the system, of course, has to be changed. If you're a family with children or going to have children, you almost have to create your own village now. It depends on where you live in the world. In the United States, it's very hard for families to find the support systems they need. The privileged people who have income of one job that can bring in enough income to support a family, I recommend, just slowing down, sharing jobs, or, giving up the job for a few years in those early years of life when the child really is shaped by their experiences moment to moment, day to day, week by week. It's really important for them to feel supported. And you don't want to just have mother doing that, because that's not what we evolved to need either. It's not a one-on-one nurturing. It needs to be a community of nurturers. So that's where you want the father, of course, involved, and neighbors, extended family members. People are going to be responsive to that child and pay attention to who they are and know them, learn to know their quirks and their interests, and get them to laugh. Those are the people you want caring for your child. So these are challenges in the States in particular. It's pretty difficult to find ways to support your children as a parent. But I think we could just have to start to imagine it differently. We get stuck thinking this is all there is, this is the best we can do. But if we have examples of alternatives, we can now start to change. So if you're in a religious community, a church community, or for example, you could perhaps find a way to bring together families at least once a week to be together and feel supported, let the children play, do your laundry together, make the meals for the week, things like that. Now, the bigger system has to be changed as well. We are focused on money making at the expense of everything else on the planet. So we have to get our politicians to be responsive to human needs and not the needs of money makers. And that's a whole nother ballgame. So we're focused here on the interpersonal aspects and what's really needed for that child to grow optimally. And we'll take ideas from everybody for how to make changes.
Hi, Darsha.
Yeah.
Tom Niebuhr has his hand up.
Okay, hang on a second. I just spoke at the Local Futures Summit in Bristol, England, and that's a focus all over the world on localizing life again. So growing your own food, just getting what you need from the local community rather than transporting or buying apples that are from New Zealand, for example, or something like that. Excuse me. So localization, so localfutures.org is a place to go, and there are people all over the world now trying to restructure their local communities so that you are based in not putting carbon in the air, not paying middlemen, all that stuff, to bring back our sense of sustainability and how we can take care of ourselves. Okay, Tom.
Yes, thank you. I got wind of your work through Gabriel Crom, who I've been doing some study and practice with over time. And I just finished reading your book, Restoring the Kinship Worldview, which I thought was just excellent. But what I wanted to bring up was I'm a grandfather now. I've got 9 grandkids. And I find that a good number of them are immersed in hyper-competitive performance oriented events like sports and even dance. And I just think it's taken a toll on them. So I just wanted some feedback about what I can do. And I have been doing some things like when the kids are with my wife and I, we focus on play, and we also try to de-emphasize the triumphalism, the win-lose orientation that seems to be so closely associated with this hyper-competitive culture. So anyway, we emphasize, more freelance fun and lack of hierarchy. So anyway, just wanted to see what you had to say about any of that.
Well, it sounds like you're doing what I would do. Play, yeah. Let the children direct the play. I don't know how old they are. How old are the kids?
Well, they range. My oldest is 21 and the youngest is 6. But I'm focused now more on the younger ones that range anywhere from high school down to, again, age 6.
Well, one thing that is good about competing is improving your own skills, right? To be whatever that is, and to see how far you can go. So it's not so much the winning as the self growth, and so there is something good about that. So you could emphasize that aspect. It sounds like you're doing that really. And then always be the sounding board and always be the place where they can come and they don't have to compete, right? With one another, with you. That's going to be so refreshing for them. They'll come back over the years and really find a way to nestle into that nest. So I think you're doing great.
Thank you.
John of Bristol.
Thank you, Darcia. Please excuse me, everyone. I can't turn my camera on, but I'm here. I'm here with you nevertheless. Just to piggyback on what you were saying, Darcia, I was at that wonderful gathering in Bristol that you were referring to. It was just to say, and my involvement in it still is around the very substantial network of people, both individually but also groups, community groups, local groups of all shapes and sizes, growing food to some degree or another. Aside from anything else, it's just very good for you to be involved in growing food. It just feels really, really good. Of course, it doesn't stop you having to obviously, supplement that perhaps in the early days because you're not involved in growing enough. It's also not about a small scale approach as if it is like being a farmer, a commercial farmer necessarily. In other words, you don't have to put that kind of, spurting blood into producing your food. And many of the people I've been involved with do it for various other reasons, including besides just producing food. It generates the most wonderful basket, if you like, of relationships, including, of course, children, people of all ages, etc., etc. It's a crucial part of, if you like, a community. And I don't know what it's like in America. I imagine that perhaps in some places, that's perhaps going on, and people might not even be aware of it happening in the local area. And anyway, I just wanted to throw it in because it's very, very nutritious in far more ways than just the actual food.
Yeah, and it's not competitive, really. It's,
No,
really, like you
at
say,
all.
it's relational. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nurturing, you practice nurturing of the plants, responsive to whatever they need, which is good practice too. So that might be something to try, Tom, if you can, with the kids. And you could be just a plant in the window too, if there's no opportunity in the yard, for example. Sigurd, hello.
Hi there. So, two connections. As with Tom, Gabriel Cram is the one who pointed out your work to me, and that's part of how I ended up here. And there are so many parallels to the way he is talking about finding a healthy body and how that happens when the human is raised in an environment where that healthy body can grow as a healthy body rather than be damaged through gestation and early life. I'm also in Deep Transfer Nation Network, and a bunch of people there went to that event in Bristol. And in a post conversation, somebody who lived in an urban environment says, well, it's all well and good for folks who live in the country who can do permaculture and stuff, but what do we do in the city? And that brought to mind for me something I had not heard about before, which is the what is it called? The social settlement movement. This is from the late 19th century. I found about it. There's a book by Mary Watkins on mutual accompaniment and the creation of the commons. And what she's talking about, people who went and lived in tenement buildings in cities and formed communities with the people who were there so that families were supporting each other. And that was a way of bringing what you're talking about into a situation where people didn't have that. And I thought that was a really interesting way of helping bring that about.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. Mary Watkins, wonderful work she does. So we can find maybe we'll have to link to those kinds of things at Evolve Nest so people have some sense of what the options are. And I'm sure all of us have the creative linkages to creativity to come up with ideas that work wherever we are. Thank you. Barbara, are you talking to us?
Sorry, can I say something real quick? I did some work at the United Nations, like very small, but like listening to other people talk, the midwife is the community. Usually in other cultures, the midwife is the community. So the women come with their babies, they play, they laugh, they sing. When they're sick, they'll go to the midwife. And so a community birthing center, community doulas, community midwives lactation, having a play place for women just to come. And then you have speakers, like all of these could be places where you touch people. And I know, who's that woman in Florida who is like
Jenny
eliminating.
Joseph.
Yeah, she has like, the
Who?
women come in community. Jenny
Jenny Joseph.
Joseph.
Danny
Yeah,
Joseph.
the women come into community for their prenatal care. They come to a big room. They lecture them. Then they ask their questions individually. They talk to each other. They help with their prenatal care, like they do their own urine. And then after that, they see the doctor individually. But maybe just like talking about how do we build like what it's already been. So the Evolved Nest, we have the blueprint for what it is, but with these ideas, we can do it. I had a lady here in New Jersey. She got funded completely for community doula program, training women within the community, and they had to give back with 3 births, and then they could practice on their own. And then she was through a nursing program. Someone else came in, eliminated the nursing program. She paid for herself. She paid for everything. She had all the stuff, and they got rid of her. But it was such a beautiful and sustainable, and it worked, and she was getting money, and it was building. But for some reason, the powers that be didn't really want it. But those are ideas. I also want to just add about the competition. There's a beautiful video. It's a you find the shortest one to listen. It's called Blue Ocean Marketing. So they talk about the red ocean is competition. It's like we have to fight each other. We have to kill each other. We have to take your, we have to take your business away to get our business. But there's a blue ocean strategy, which it's the wide blue ocean when you live in creation, and that there's enough for everyone. And when you can just shift to that concept of, so say as a midwife, as a doula, as a birth worker, I might just work with women who, have been, abused in their life. And that might be my special little facet of the diamond. So I like to just encourage people that we all are facets of this diamond. And once you have the whole diamond, it's not going to take just one spot that's all the same to fix everything. We all facets of the diamond. There is no competition. And that once you can get that idea across to people, we move into creation instead of competition.
Beautiful. In terms of the doula, we used to have doulas at a local hospital here until the anesthesiologist complained that his income was going down. And so they got rid of the doulas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's money making for you.
So I put in the chat over here, Darsha has spoken a couple of times at the maternal gift economy salons that they have. So there's a link in there where you can hear about the maternal gift economy. We're talking about that. And also just wanted to say, we're sitting here right now because in Virginia, 27 years ago, exactly the model that Barbara described is how this nonprofit got started. It was a combination of Joseph Chilton Pierce was down the road in Charlottesville, and he wrote the book The Magical Child, and a group of parents, 700 families in Virginia that were using this underground midwife formed their underground community to study Joseph Chilton Pierce's work and to give each other help, because the midwife said to them, in the model, completely opposite of medical models, she said, I cannot be your go-to for everything. You have to have meetings, you have to share what you know with each other, and you have to help each other with your families and on this path of health and wellness. And this is truly why we're sitting here today. And I'll put our history up in the chat if you're interested in that. And everything we've done in 27 years, by the way, this is a nonprofit, and please support us. Support Darsha. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Daniel, and then Rochelle.
Awesome. Real nice to be here. I came to your work through reading, she's a therapist out here on the West Coast, Sharon Stanley, and her work was really good at communicating kind of the importance of supportive communities and how we work through our challenges, in life in various ways, but it's that kind of the attunement and resonance, I guess, hard to put into words right simply, but it was really, but she referenced your work a lot. about creating supportive communities that are emotionally attuned, and how that's kind of like a kernel for getting us out of moving us to a better place, I guess. But the conversation about the challenges like in society, working in a capitalist system that makes it hard to build these kind of evolved nests, in different ways, that has been on my mind, and I'm curious about ways people have been figuring that out. Like, I think about urban agriculture movements, how you might have a lot somewhere and you're growing food, but then say a developer decides finally to develop that land, or the effects of gentrification when you've got a cool community that's growing, and then it gets popular, and then homes start getting bought up, or just the ability for money to really get at the commons, continually. And so I'm just curious ways or examples of how folks have organized, like in neighborhoods or communities. I remember reading up a bit in these communities in northern Syria, how they created a really bottom-up democratic system, this area called Rojava, in the middle of so much chaos, but it was really kind of like a bottom-up direct democracy that they created, and how, like, just thinking of those structures of organizing that kind of push back at kind of the power of individuals, say with money, or the big people on top with their ability to kind of change things. Anyways, I'm just curious about other examples of neighborhoods or models or something where you can organize to help support these more interpersonal and developmental kind of nests that we're trying to foster. Gosh, this is early in the morning for me. Well, kind of out, so a little foggy. Need a coffee, but anyways, want to put that out there.
Well, thank you. Yeah, a lot of good ideas that you brought up yourself, right? That you've been reading about. That the community organizing is not my area, right? I'm the academic trying to pull together all the information about what's gone wrong with humanity and how to get back on track. But the community organizing part is really important as the next step. So I think we can, advocate for parks in our neighborhoods. If you're in a city, to take down or eliminate the ordinances that criminalize children outside playing alone, playing alone in a park, or outside there without adult supervision. Those things are kind of nuts. And taking away the laws that don't let you have more than 2 generations in a household, for example. There's all sorts of rules that have been put in place to emphasize the nuclear family rather than the extended family, to emphasize cars instead of walking and mass transport. So I think each person, each group of people from a particular locale will have to examine what's needed in where they are, where to start, and what their skills are. So bringing back the doulas, right, and midwives, there's quite a bit of effort now on that. And if we had single payer government paid healthcare like European countries do, it would be so much easier, because the government wants you to be healthy. But our incentives are, you make more money, the insurance companies, everybody else, if you're sick. Pharmaceuticals make a lot of money, therapists too, right? So the incentives are all backwards in the United States. So we have to get money out of politics, for example, but we have a Supreme Court that is kind of very extremely oligarchical. Wants the powerful, the rich to be in charge. the way they act. So we have a lot of barriers in the States, but other countries, maybe have more freedom to do things than we do here. So I'm hoping that the global South, which still has a lot of wisdom that we haven't lost, at least the non-elites, may be the leaders for us in the future. We can't look to places like the US to be a leader because it's so caught up in corruption, moneyed corruption, and oligarchy. So it's not oriented to our well-being. But other countries have a better. Poland just pushed out a populist and want to get back to democratic rule. So that's hopeful. So anyway, there's so many levels and layers, right? So start where you are, do what you can with the gifts you have.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Daniel.
So I'd like to say something to what's happening here, and and I've written about this in Kindred. I'll throw this up in our chat in just a second. I'm Kindred's editor. I'm the co-founder of Kindred World. I've been here for this entire journey, and you can read about all of that on Kindred and our wisdom archives. And what I perceive the extraordinary integrative synthesizing work that Darsha has brought to us with this evolved nest is the lens that I heard, and I hear all of you saying, this is the lens that I see through. So it's like our worldview is already here and perceiving our children, ourselves, and wanting to as whole. But we don't see that reflected back to us culturally. Like Darsha said, evolution doesn't make mistakes, cultures do. So this is a cultural transformation issue that we have to take on now, which means, as Joseph Chilton Pearce wrote in his work, the culture is what internally what we reflect out there, and then if we forget that's where it's coming from, and then the cycle gets that, oh, now we're absorbing and internalizing these cultural biases, and he called it the biocultural conflict. And if you read our history, you can see this has been our mission from the beginning, is to redress this biocultural conflict. But one of the most important pieces of the evolved nest that Darsha talks about, somebody was mentioning restoring the kinship worldview, is to be aware that we are shifting our worldview right now. And in this the article I'm getting ready to put up, what I talk about is it is up to us to understand what worldview, where we are in this process, because when we start shifting ourselves, then what we're just talking about, oh, this resource is here and these people are there and these people have figured it out there. We grow the eyes and ears to perceive that this new way of being is already emerging, the new old way. Our evolutionary imperatives are being brought back into the center of our human consciousness right now. So I appreciate this discussion, but I want to frame it and not feel like it's nebulous. There is a discussion that's been going on for a long time at Kindred, and I invite you to come on over to our Muddy Networks platform as well if you're not there, so you can be a part of that.
Thank you, Lisa. So Rochelle and then Linda Hamilton.
Hi, Darsha and everyone else. Thank you so much for your work. I don't even know how I came across you. It was a couple of years ago, but it was on YouTube. But probably as I was doing a Google on Jean Liedloff. So I discovered her book before I had my first child 36 years ago. It remains to date my favorite, go-to book, or the one that I refer people to, as well as My Name is Chellis and I'm in recovery from Western civilization. But I wanted to share some of my own personal experience, because for me, reading those things was like, well, of course, it's just also common sense. And I was very fortunate to at least have a few women around me who were raising their children at the same time, who were the same ages, and we all shared the same viewpoint. And we all had midwives before they were even kind of certified, which actually was the kind I prefer, but before it became mainstream, I would say. And, family bed, homeschool, And I ended up moving out to the West Coast in BC and living in a housing co-op where there were 4 other homeschool families and kids would be running around. And to me, they were just having the greatest time. So I'm just going to fast forward now because I'm a grandparent. I have 2 children, 2 grandchildren, 7 and 5. And one of the things I look back on and that I find so despairing is that, sure, I did what I could. We did what we could collectively, but the magnitude of the culture and the sickness of the culture, I just don't know how to manage that. So, and with many of those people who I've had contact with, those kids who are now adults and have their own kids are now looking at their parents and saying, why did you homeschool us? How come, there's a lot of accusation that actually happens. You would think that giving your children these things would be like the wonderful thing, but it turns out, my grandkids were raised or have cribs when they were young. Like, it just didn't transmit. It didn't carry forward. And I feel a lot of distress around that. Yeah. Did I do something wrong? So I'm bringing a little maternal guilt here, which I don't recommend. And I've spent my entire life, I'll just say, teaching nonviolent communication because the thrust towards connection, I just see that we've been raised in a state of disconnection. So I'm just trying to figure out, what next? It's so heavy. It's such a burden. And I have a lot of young female friends who are now where I was some 20 years ago with their kids, like, he's going to school. I don't know if he should get the vaccine. All of these dilemmas that people who have big questions and big concerns and want to live relationally feel so lonely and isolated, even in the midst of having a lot of people around them. And I saw a mention of grief work in there. I've definitely been doing that for quite a while. So I don't know why I'm bringing it forward. And my heart is racing. I just feel like it's important. And I think the work you're doing is the most important work in the world. And I guess I'm worried because I see what's happening. I see the growing rate of family estrangements, the gender dysphoria. I just think, so much disconnection. I want to find a way to not buckle under it, So that's that. Yeah, my bleeding all over the place here. Yeah. But I still think those are the best books, and now yours along with it. And yeah, I don't have any optimism, but I keep doing it.
Well, I would like to say to you, is your name Rochelle?
It's Rochelle. Yeah.
Rochelle, as a mother, I wish I could lift that burden of guilt that was placed on you culturally. And I would like to be able to do that. You were let down, and none of that is anything that you should be bearing. We were all let down by cultural bias, and Darsha's work covers all of this, which is why the worldview issue is so important. And to the degree that we're still letting mothers down by peddling the narrative that mothers are supposed to be able to do all this in isolation, right now in the United States, the leading cause of death for new mothers is suicide. Do we talk about that? Are we talking about that? We just made forced birth a reality in America for mothers that don't have resources to have children here, like other developed nations. And I'll let Darsha speak to you about the Allo Mother piece, which I did put here in the chat about how we're not supposed to do this alone. And it does have the statistics there at the top about new motherhood in the United States. I'm very sorry. I really am. I really wish that all of us could just not suffer like this. It was an engineered suffering. We should have never borne it.
Can I just add one thing, is that I mentioned mother guilt, and clearly I have a lot of emotion around this, but really what's the biggest grief that I have is around children, is that I do too much research in areas I think I shouldn't go, or I don't have the stomach for, because the level of polarization I see is only increasing. And because of the work that I do, and I work one-on-one with people as well as group work, I just see things getting worse. And I think that people want something, but they don't want to do what it takes. Like to say to someone, well, how about giving up a salary, for instance? That's a very important thing. How about wanting less? How about not insisting on having the extra bathroom in your home? How about not insisting on the second car? Like it's a lifestyle change that's required. And I'm not sure, it's so hard when people get accustomed to something. I don't know if you've heard the quote from Upton Sinclair. It's hard to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding it. And I would just insert the word lifestyle in there, because this is so lifestyle driven too, the conveniences that we have, that they're so hard to give up. But the kids are worth it, I think. And thanks for letting me add that piece, because that is my heartbreak.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Rochelle, for expressing feelings and thoughts that many of us have had about how things are going in the wrong direction, and the disconnect between the generations, which is distressing. In our ancestral context, nomadic foragers, excuse me, the elders are the ones that take care of the younger children. And it's the 20 to 40-year-olds that are all about working and getting their, they're focused on their identity, and they're kind of making a contribution through their activities to the world. But the elders, are past that, and they're more in tune with the unmanifest, the other realms of the universe, just like the youngest children are till about 7 or 8 years old. And so they get along really well. And that nurturing is something that is so critical. And I think that between 20 and 40, I think children are often not, well, I guess it starts earlier in adolescence, not all that grateful for their parents because they, whatever they see other in our culture, see other possibilities for them. So my prediction is that once they reach their 50s or 60s, they're going to be so grateful to you that they will have realized how important it was, the way that you nurtured them, in contrast to what the dominant culture keeps telling us is more important. So anyway, that's my prediction. You'll have to let me know about that. Meanwhile, what to do when people are emailing regularly to me about their grandchildren being sleep trained and things like that by their children, and they're so distressed about it. It's really hard to deal with those things because if you get say too much, you can lose the relationship. They'll cut you off potentially. So I think what we can do is what Tom was talking about earlier, and that is provide that space, that nurturing space for the children, so that when they're with you, they have that feeling of comfort and cuddly love, rather than the demands and the competition and the restrictions that their parents are putting on them, as well as their peers in school, etc. But we are in a space where things seem to be getting worse before they get better. So I think we need, and perhaps that's what's needed to wake everyone up. Things, when an idea takes flight and invades or kind of latches on to everybody, it's a viral moment. It can be a viral moment. And what we need with the Evolved Nest is a viral expansion of the idea, and how important it is for all of us to be nested, not just children. right? We all need cuddling, and we all need nature immersion and connection. We all need responsive relationships, mentors. We all need lots of play. So I think when we attune into ourselves, at least, that's the very least we can do, is nest ourselves. Then we can be more prepared for whatever we face. Whoever we meet, we can be loving instead of defensive against whatever they present.
Darsha, I just want to add too, as a social media person, I've
Yeah.
seen, you know, in the past, my son is 21 and I really got into this while I was pregnant. There's been an incredible difference in what you can find on social media. They're like in the past, like you'd have to really go looking and you'd find mothering.com. That was the only place you could really find it in the chat groups. And then you were considered odd. But nowadays you find it all like Instagram, and there's pictures, there's visuals, there's videos, there's these beautiful images, and they're all over the place. And one big change I saw in the past, I think it's like 5 years, they had the diapers commercial where the baby went skin to skin. When I saw that, I almost lost my mind, because I'm like, finally, like they're showing skin to skin in a diaper mainstream commercial. So it is happening. Don't feel so sad. I see it's a big mess on the top, like a pus or something, but underneath are these firm, incredible women and families who are choosing something different. And there's so many resources and images and things for people to find. So I really feel like all you people who are studying this, you're ready, you're ready, you're ready. And this is the time that people are going to start looking, because they're starting to see that the medical paradigm industrial complex doesn't hold everything. So just don't be so sad. It's happening. It's beautiful. And, you know, you want to do something, go share something beautiful, you know, everywhere on your walls. You can reach people beyond what their social reach is. So don't discount what one share a day can do. You know, that's all.
Brilliant. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. Linda. You're gonna unmute. Our time is almost up too. But,
Okay, how's that?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm so happy to be here, and I just want to add on to that. We're living in a transitional time, and that's a messy, that can be a messy time. So Raquel, I really feel exactly what you're feeling as well. I have 7 children, and I've tried my best to do all the things. I home birth, homeschool, moved my family to the jungles of Costa Rica to get them out of the US. I breastfed my last child till she was 8.
Oh, woo.
Which is really wonderful. And Darsha, I really appreciate all of your research and everything you have to offer. It's been such an inspiration to me in my work as a birth keeper, midwife, doula. I prefer to call myself a birth keeper. And I work with my clients, really try to stress the importance of the prenatal life. And so your work has been really, yes, just so inspirational. I'm very excited and happy to be here. I wanted to thank you for that. I see it too with what I wanted to say about that is what's happening now, not just with the parents, but with the babies. I feel like these babies are giving information to their mothers, and it's different. I've been doing this work for 30 years. The kids that are coming now, these babies that are coming now are different. And they, to the point where some of my clients, including myself, I had this experience as well, where I saw the place of the birth, where the baby needed to be born. And I had no idea where it was or how I would get there or anything. And then it would all come together. And I almost feel like these babies are coming to what would be similar to like a pressure point on the planet, and that they don't even have to do anything. They just have to come and to arrive on those points. And I don't know, I don't have all of this solidified yet. I'm still in, I guess I would say I'm in a state of mystery right now. but I can definitely say that from what I've seen in my work, that things are changing. I see the shift. I feel the shift. And in any labor, transition is a very difficult time. And that's always when the mother looks at me and says, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. And my response is always, awesome, because you're in it now. The fact that you're saying this means that baby's almost here. And I see that for humanity now. We're in transition. It's difficult. It's messy. There's poop and blood and sweat and tears. But we can't lose hope. We have to understand that the beauty and the bliss is really very close, and to just keep doing what we're all doing right now. And just thank you again, Darsha, for all that you've done.
Well, thank you, Linda. You're giving me chills. You're what you said. Whoa, such a promising note to end on here. It's just wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Was Danny raising her hand? Danny, were you raising your hand or you're just waving? Okay.
Oh, I was just waving and thank you so much for
Yay.
this share, Linda.
Thank you. There are things in the chat, but our time is up. I think one thing, so you'll be sent the chat afterwards, so you don't have to scroll through it right now. But there was a mention of needing to do grief work, right? I think that's true. We, let's see, where is that? Mullen was saying that, like the work of Joanna Macy, Francis Keller, Stephen Jenkinson. We need to grieve together, and our culture doesn't like that, at least in the United States. And since the Protestant Reformation, they kind of shut down all the community grieving rituals. So we need to return to that and have some times where we grieve. I know I cry almost every day on my own, but it'd be nice to have a group where, you can come and share and light a candle, offer tobacco or pass incense, and be in communion together grieving. So if there's ways for us to do that, it's kind of hard over Zoom, but thank you for the optimism and for the struggles that you shared today. I think we all are on the page together. We're all in the same river, right? Joined together, swimming together. We're not alone. Let's remember that. Our hearts are connected. Why don't you take a deep breath right now and feel the connection among us and feel energized by that. Let it melt your fear away, melt your resentment, anger, whatever's in the way of that flow of loving divine energy that keeps the world going. Well, let's tap into that and share it now as we go forward this week and the next minutes, hours, days, months. Thank you so much for coming. Peace and power be with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Darsha.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The chat will be sent, right, Darsha? You said that.
Yes. Yes.
I unmuted everyone in case they just want to say goodbye on the way out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Unmute yourself
much.
to do it.
Hey, bye, Patricia.
Good to see you, Patricia, Peter.
Glad you got to come. It's nice to meet you, Tom.
Bye. Megan.
Bye.
Bye. Jen. Bye.